Today I'm going to share with you the 10 most common dip mistakes most people make, and they're easily avoidable. I'm going to be teaching you perfect technique so you can get faster results and more progress. All right everyone, quick question for you. What is the most common dip mistake that you see, especially one that could be easily avoided? Comment below and let's get into the video. What I'd like to discuss first with the calisthenics dip is range of motion. Now this principle on the surface seems so basic. Use a full range of motion, but most people make mistakes when it comes to their dips just because they're looking for ways to make the exercise easier, and the first way in which it does so is quarter range of motion. They only bend their arms down a little bit and then go back to the top. They'd rather pump out more repetitions by using a smaller range of motion than doing the exercise authentically. A second common mistake that people make is quarter reps at the bottom range of motion. The myth is that you can target a muscle to a greater extent because it's remaining on tension at all times. People believe that your chest is going to be targeted more by staying in the deep position and not locking out. Now that I've shown you the mistakes when it comes to range of motion for dips, I want to show you how to choose the perfect technique for you. You want to use the maximum range of motion that your mobility permits. The reason why we want to do this is to get a full stretch through our working muscles, and the goal for most people should be about 90 degrees of shoulder extension. Deeper is even better if you can achieve it pain-free. If you're feeling elbow or shoulder discomfort or joint irritation, that is a sign that you've gone too deep. Just choose what is comfortable for you. I really want to drive home the point about fully locking the elbow every single rep. If you are missing that lockout at the top, it's inconsistent, you're not using that full range of motion. We know that it is very important for rep to rep consistency, and getting the most out of your upper body muscles absolutely must lock out. The next surprisingly common mistake that people make with dips is uncontrolled eccentrics. This mistake happens whether you're a beginner or someone who's advanced, and it's pretty normal when we get tired to start trying to cut corners. People dive bomb into the bottom of the dip and then come back up. You're robbing yourself of potential hypertrophy, muscle mass gains in that important negative. You're robbing yourself of the opportunity to build strength in that negative. Every time it's an opportunity on the way down as well as the way up to get stronger. More importantly for everyone watching, if you're dive bombing into your dips with an uncontrolled negative, a fast eccentric, you're going to increase your injury risk unnecessarily. This puts a lot more strain on your shoulder and elbow joints, those passive structures, because you're not using your muscles as brakes. Whether you're a beginner or someone advanced, whether you're doing bodyweight dips or heavy weighted dips, respect the negative and you're going to get so much more results, less injury, and you'll thank me later for it. After hearing me warning you about uncontrolled negatives, you're probably wondering what tempo should you use. Basically, just use control. You don't have to go down super slow, taking like 8 seconds to do your negative. Extremes aren't cool. Just use control, use a moderate tempo, apply that full range of motion, and that is going to create the environment necessary for muscle and strength gain. Don't overcomplicate it. On the surface, dips look like a very simple exercise. You go down, you come up. But when it comes to the lean, many people make mistakes. The first way is leaning too far forward. The reason people think leaning forward is effective for dips is they believe that it's going to put more stress on their chest and their shoulder muscles. Although this might be somewhat true for bodyweight only, the problem is with this type of technique, it's not very safe or effective when you get stronger, when you're starting to go a lot deeper, when you're adding additional load to the exercise. Keep in mind, if you choose to do forward lean dips, it has a risk to reward ratio. If you want to increase intensity over time through increased range of motion or adding weight to the exercise, it comes with more potential for injury. Specifically regarding the shoulder joint, leaning really far forward puts a ton of strain on this anterior capsule of the shoulder. So it is much better to use a neutral technique to minimize this anterior strain and put more of the stress onto your deltoids, your chest, and your triceps. It's honestly not worth the trade-off in my perspective. The other technical mistake that people make with dips is leaning too far backwards. The mistaken belief is that this is going to increase the tricep activation, but for anyone that has actually tried this type of form, it is a lot more difficult to achieve depth. It creates a lot more stress on the elbow joint, and there's a much better way to do it. Let's keep things big picture when it comes to perfect dipping technique. Just go straight down. That's going to allow you to get the maximum range of motion, feel the most comfortable in your shoulder and elbow joints, and maximize your mechanical tension in your muscles. It's the best way to keep making progress. A huge mistake with dips is using momentum or kipping. You'd say that this is one of the biggest sins when it comes to exercise form. It is a very common mistake. You definitely need to avoid these mistakes. A mistake to keep an eye out for is arching the back during dips. Why this happens is when fatigue sets in, picture yourself in the bottom of a dip. The way that the body compensates to get through the entire range of motion is by arching the back, using the back extensors to complete the exercise. Keep an eye out for this and do not make this mistake. The other mistake that you're going to see with dips is using momentum via kicking with the legs. This is a huge mistake because you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to build strength, especially out of the bottom. You'll see people get to the bottom and then kick aggressively with the legs. This isn't CrossFit. We don't use momentum. We've got to use strict form in order to maximize strength and muscular size with calisthenics. A common mistake or a way of cheating when it comes to especially weighted calisthenics is a dipping technique where the shoulders go forward and the hips go back. What's happening here is those two movements at the opposing joints essentially cancel each other out. You're not actually getting a full range of motion. This is how people cheat to increase the weight without necessarily getting the full results that a full range of motion dip provides. Keep that one in mind. The final mistake that I want to mention, which is very common to see, is the swinging dip. People move in a pendulum essentially, rocking back and forth throughout their dips. This goes alongside the uncontrolled eccentric and just using a swinging or momentum motion to get oneself through the exercise without actually using muscular control and reaping the benefits that strict technique actually provides. A lack of consistency when it comes to dipping technique is a very common and easily avoidable mistake. I'm talking inconsistent tempo. Some reps are fast, some reps are slow. We see inconsistent technique as well. Sometimes people are locking out all the way. Sometimes they're getting a partial lockout. Sometimes they go down halfway. Sometimes they go down all the way. You really need to use a consistent technique every rep, every workout, because this way you can measure your progress objectively. You know that you're actually progressing. If you're inconsistent, you're going to get inconsistent results. I'd like to continue our dipping discussion by talking about the grip and also the technique in terms of what is best for you. Should you use a wide grip? Should you use a narrow grip? It's one of those things you need to choose based on your anthropometry. Everyone's different. Everyone has different limb lengths and preferences. So for you, if you're comfortable doing your dips on this arrangement, it doesn't give you any shoulder or elbow pain, but moving here does, this is the option for you. And vice versa, if you find that this is giving you issues, but if you're doing your closer grip technique and it feels comfortable, go for that. The big picture thing is you don't want to use a technique just because someone said it's best. Whether it's a friend or some expert that you've seen on the internet, you need to go with your body. You know your body best. Choose what is most comfortable, choose what you're strongest with, and that's going to give you the best results and long-term progress. Just another extra point that I want to share with you when it comes to dips, don't think that you have to do them always facing this way. As you can see from the bars, it orientates itself in a certain direction. Some of you are going to feel comfortable if you're facing the rack this way, or others might find you're more comfortable this way. Choose a setup which is most comfortable for you, and of course experiment, find what feels strongest. A common weighted calisthenics mistake is the setup and also the intention of how you're doing your weighted dips. You see so many people do this and it's such an easily avoidable mistake. It is letting the weight plates literally swing like this. Why is this not a good idea? Well, if the weight is moving around everywhere, it's going to create unnecessary instability. So this is going to increase the strain going through your shoulders. It's going to increase your risk of swinging around during your dips. And basically, you're not going to be as stable and as strong if the weight plate is going all over the place. A weighted dip setup that I'm not a fan of is tucking the knees during your reps. It's much more likely that you're going to arch your back when you're doing weighted dips with this particular technique. For those of you that want to perfect your weighted dip to maximize strength, maximize stability, minimize injury risk, and maximize muscular tension, mechanical tension, just keep your legs squeezed. This is going to keep the weight plate directly under your center of mass, and it's going to create the most stability, and you'll be the strongest using this technique. Best to set up the dips so that it's high enough so you can keep your legs straight, to squeeze the legs together, keep the weight plate in place, and your dipping technique, absolutely perfect. Let's talk scapula and back positioning for dips. The common mistakes that you're going to see are shrugging up, scapular elevation, and also scapular protraction. This is generally combined with hunchback thoracic flexion. This is incorrect dipping form. Definitely avoid this. Let's talk optimal technique for successful dips. It all starts with a proud posture, thoracic extension. Next, if we look at our scapula, we want to squeeze our shoulder blades together and down. This retraction and depression is going to center our humerus, upper arm bone, within our scapula, glenoid fossa. This position is optimal for strength. This position is optimal for injury prevention. And this is going to maximize your upper body muscles and the function during exercise. Moving on, a problem that I see a lot of people make is going way too heavy with their weighted dips. As we've already discussed in this video, the dip exercise, it's inherently unstable. So if you're throwing on a ton of weight and you're doing 1, 2, 3 reps, it's not really worth it. Your risk of injury is much higher, and there's a much smarter way to get more from your dips. Drop the loads a little bit, keep the intensity at a more moderate rep range so you can play around with the 10, 15, 20, even up to 30 rep range without the inherent risk which comes from, I guess, ego training with heavy weighted dips. Watch out for that one. In closing, here's why I recommend chasing perfection when it comes to your dipping technique. You're going to maximize your results in terms of strength and muscular gain while minimizing injury risk. Further to this, it's important that you have standards for yourself and you take pride in your form. This way, over time, you're going to see objective improvements through your own effort that's been genuine, and you know that the adaptations have been earned by you and you alone. This is really important when it comes to dips, and it's going to keep you in the calisthenics game for years to come.